I will call this meeting of the Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors to order. Roll call, please, Mr. Veeder.
Leyland.
Here.
Little.
Here.
Strelka.
Here.
White.
Here.
Schwartz.
Here. Please join us in a moment of silence to reflect on today's actions. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Entertain a motion on the agenda as received or amended.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The agenda is approved. Next is public comments. Anybody from the public wishing to speak to the board on something that is not an agenda item?
No one here.
All right. There. All right. Seeing none, we will move on to claims and payments.
Morning, James.
Good morning, James Perry, Finance Director. This week's expenditures total $303,607.43. The larger departments, Sheriff Department $41,197, Maintenance $12,1255, Social Services $12,479, Secondary Roads $10,238, and then our capital fund $57,702. Do you have any questions?
Everything appears in
All right.
order, you always
Yes.
say, so
Yep.
okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. There is a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions, board? Hearing none. Roll call, please, Mr. Veeder.
Leyland.
Yes.
Little.
Yes.
Strelka. Strelka.
It's probably breaking up this time.
He's all frozen.
Frozen.
I'm gonna guess that he said yes.
It's cold up there.
White.
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes. All right, the resolution is approved. Next, we'll move on to presentations. There's an update from Pathways Behavioral Services.
Morning, Chris.
Morning.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Oh, been a while since I've been in here. First of all, I want to thank Supervisor White for getting us on the agenda today. I have with me Mandy Guessme. She's been working at Pathways not as long as I have, but for quite a while. What we're coming to talk to you guys today about is to try to bring a little more public exposure to one of the projects that we're working on. Since May, we've been working on COVID Recovery Iowa project. A little history on it. This came about as sort of a result of the floods and tornadoes of '08, when we were approached by the Department of Human Services to provide crisis mental health services to Blackhawk and actually 6 other counties as a result of those natural disasters. Apparently they were really pleased with what we did. One of the things we focused on at that time was making sure kids were getting taken care of, because during times of disaster, kids tend to get set aside and left to their own devices, and then they have lots of issues. So we focused on that group, and we got a little surprised at the end of that. We provided 75% of the kids' services out of that whole statewide project back in '08, and Mandy led that effort at that time. So we flash forward to 2020. Now we have a pandemic. FEMA has funded the state again to do a virtual mental health crisis project. Virtual meaning anywhere in the state. And we were called and asked to take over one of the teams for the FEMA project, which is actually called COVID Recovery Iowa. There's a website you can find it on. They said, which team you want to run? And right away I said, well, we'll do children and family, but I got to make sure Mandy's going to agree to do it since she ran the team last time. And she's still around. I called her and it took her about 30 seconds when she knew it was kids. She was right on it. So away we go. May we got started. It was supposed to last until maybe February or March. Because of the derecho, the grant has now gotten extended through June. And one of the troubles we're having is COVID's getting attached to everything. And it's getting people confused as to how to access services and what services are available. So we're hoping through this venue and some other things we're doing, we can get that explained better. With that, I'm going to let Mandy tell you all the stuff we're doing, because some of it's really kind of fun and exciting, and some of it's just really helpful.
Because the grant is virtual, we've had to be pretty creative in how to connect with people. But the best way is going to our website, covidrecoveryiowa.org, and there you can connect with us through Facebook, Instagram, and even Twitter. And we have some support groups going on that are virtual. You can just email one of us and get connected with that. We also have our hotline, 1-800-447-1985 is one of our numbers that you can reach us through. But we are a free peer-to-peer counseling support program. So anybody in need can call us or submit a request for assistance through our website. And we'll do our best to meet your needs, whatever that might be. Everybody's needs are unique. So we've tried to address the needs in a unique way, in a lot of different ways. And one of them is we have a program on Facebook that's called Tell Me a Story. And that's to try to reach out and connect to our younger population of kids. And some of our kids have had kind of a lack of routine, a lack of opportunity for activities that they normally get to do. And so we read them stories there every day at 10 o'clock and also put our contact numbers on there so parents can reach out if needed. We've even had some celebrity readers to try and make sure people know how to connect with us. If you want to check those out, they're still posted on there. Ashton Kutcher. One of our other unique ways of reaching out to people is through, we created a video for middle school counselors. I went to a conference, a virtual conference, and the middle school counselor said, what's out there for middle schoolers for resources? So we created a video to help them be able to communicate, to build some skills, to be able to talk about any concerns they're having about the pandemic. And we sent that out to all the middle school counselors in Iowa, and that included a little clip from Miss Teen Iowa. And she tells us in there how she's been coping with the pandemic. So that was helpful. And that's posted on our YouTube channel, another resource for folks. We have a Parenting in a Pandemic group on Facebook. Parents can go on there. We have little 15-minute live interviews with people that provide resources, so we collaborate with other people in the community. We even have an ER doc talking to us over the holiday break here about the pandemic and vaccinations and what parents need to know. So lots of good stuff going on out there. It's been interesting trying to reach out to the whole state of Iowa and do it virtually. We're always open to suggestions and ideas on how to connect people and how to help them.
So they can access counseling, they can access crisis services if they're feeling suicidal, correct?
Correct.
And those initial group of services there would be free. So if you're worried that you don't have any copay money left or something, you can get a hold of everybody through this website, and we'll get you hooked up with a therapist to get some free sessions, so you don't have to worry that if you've been unemployed for a while that's going to come back to haunt you. So we're pretty happy about the project. I think our biggest controversy was Mandy read a book about agriculture and farming, and she did it in front of a John Deere. And she got poked fun at because it wasn't in front of a red one instead. So, questions?
Just comment, thanks for what you guys are doing. It's greatly appreciated. We should have been doing this a long time ago. We've talked about it before in our meetings that we should have started with the kids rather than the adults.
That's what we always try to do.
Would have turned things around a lot faster. But thank you, Mandy, too, for what you're doing. It's greatly appreciated.
very much, and congratulations on being selected to do this. Like I said, that's tremendous for our community or our area and the state as well, so thank you both.
Thanks, take care.
Hey, take care, Chris.
Thank
Merry
you both.
Christmas.
Your work speaks for itself, and so we have great appreciation for it.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Good. We'll next move on to item B here. This is audit presentation presented from Doug Host, Larson and Allen LLP.
Morning.
Does everybody have a copy of the audit and the audit presentation?
And we have two options. One is we can go through the PowerPoint, or we can go through the 140 pages of your financial statement. PowerPoint it is.
Okay, I was
All
gonna say,
right.
which do you prefer?
Yeah, excellent. I am Doug Host. I'm a principal with Clifton Larson Allen. I was here a few years ago. But Miranda Wendlandt, who is the principal on your audit now, is out on maternity leave. So I'm back for a little bit anyhow. So we'll go through the PowerPoint. There's a table of contents that just talks or lists out what I'll talk about here today. On page 4, audit standards. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
That all right? All right. So audit standards, they tell us the testing we need to do and the reporting that we need to do. And we're required to communicate certain things to the board. And we do that via a 4-page letter that I believe has been sent out electronically. We do have paper copies here. I'm just going to touch on the highlights. When we do an audit, our objective is to issue an opinion on your financial statements. And we issued what's called an unmodified opinion. It's a clean opinion. It's the best opinion we can give. It means your financial statements are materially correct as presented. The timing of the audit it's been done for a few weeks already, so that's good. What's that? Oh. Okay. One thing to note, if you ever use just a portion of your financial statements or your CAF or Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, just let us know, because there's a couple T's we need to cross and I's to dot from audit standards requirements. So if you ever just pull out a piece of it, just let us know. The notes to the financial statements include or disclose the significant accounting policies that you have. At the end of the audit, management provided us a letter that basically said, hey, we either gave you copy or the originals to test or copies of the originals. On page 6, we're required to communicate to the board if we have difficulties in performing the audit or disagreements with management when we perform the audit. I'm happy to report there were none of those. The audit actually went very smoothly, especially considering, staff were dealing with this COVID-19 thing, a very unique election year, and doing the audit mostly remotely creates some additional challenges too. But I just want to thank all the staff that went above and beyond to do what they had to do to allow us to get the audit done as well. I mean, we really appreciate it. Your audit got done earlier than last year, which is awesome. And I know people at some other firms and even some of our CLA offices around the country, when the pandemic hit and everything was shut down, many of them, their audits shut down as well. And it paralyzed everybody. And they're all behind. The federal government has granted extensions to get the audits done. Yours charged right through, got everything done, and even earlier than last year. So thank you to everybody. We did have 2 adjustments that we needed to make. I'll touch on that a little bit more later on. And then we're required to communicate if we have any past adjustments. And to summarize that, it just means they're so small that they don't matter. It's like being off a buck or something. So when we run into those, we're not required to adjust them in your financial statements. We're just required to communicate them to the board. So we had 2 of those. All right, page 8. This is just a little snapshot, summarizes the key components of your CAFR. One other thing to note is the required and other supplementary information and statistical sections. They're required to be in your report by standard, but the standards also say we as your auditors don't audit them. They're in there, but they're not audited. So I just want to point that out. So we'll jump to page 9. And we summarize the financial, it's a financial statement summary, highlights of your major funds. And we got some good news here. The general fund for the year increased its fund balance by about 1.7 million. The revenues were about the same as last year, and the expenses or expenditures were up about 750,000. But all total, fund balance went up 1.7 million. Mental health fund balance increased about 61,000. Both the revenues and expenditures were down from the prior year, but in the end, still an increase in fund balance. Rural Services saw just shy of a $500,000 increase in its fund balances. And Secondary Roads saw just about 400,000 increase to fund balance. That's pretty good. That isn't happening all over the place. I know there's something later on the agenda considering the budgets and stuff. The county's sitting in good financial condition. And the fiscal 20 results reflect that. Next page, a couple other funds. The debt service fund saw an increase of about 3.8 million in its fund balance. The biggest part of that increase was the bond proceeds that were issued during the year. And some of those proceeds also went into the capital project fund. And the capital project fund's fund balance was up 2.7 million. And then the non-major column, that's a bunch of it's like 5 of your smaller funds all rolled together. And that saw an increase in fund balance of about 200,000. So grand total countywide saw an increase of about 9.4 million in fund balance. Now, just know that a big chunk of that is the bond proceeds. So, good news there. Page 11 just shows the breakout of those 5 funds for the non-major funds here. Page 12, Blackhawk County has 2 enterprise funds. One's titled Rural Sewer, and the other one's Rural Water. Now for the year, these 2 funds did see decreases in their net position, their fund balances. For a grand total, about $130,000 decrease. Last year, these funds had about $130,000 decrease. The year before, there was about an $85,000 decrease. So really what you're seeing, there's a trend in these 2 enterprise funds, that the revenues are not covering expenses. So certainly keep that in mind as you roll through the rest of FY 2021. Page 13, the largest account on your financial statements is capital assets. And this slide just shows, okay, what different kinds of capital assets is it tied up in. Infrastructure is the biggest part there. That's a lot of roads. Page 14, the county's got some long-term debt too. And you have short-term debt as well, but the long-term debt's pretty large number on your financial statement, so we just show the breakout here as well. It's just shy of 20 million net for GO bonds. That net pension liability and total OPEB liability, those are calculated by actuaries, not us, and how the actuaries actually go through those gyrations, I can't say for sure. But they give us the number and it gets plopped into your financials. And then there's just a table at the bottom that shows the debt to maturity tables. Really after 2024, your annual debt principal will be under 800,000 at that point. So I would say that the light at the end of the tunnel is getting bigger or easier to see at this point. Page 15, Your CAFR includes two sets of financial statements for the county. One is the modified accrual, which is the old traditional reporting, and then one is the government-wide statements, which is on a full accrual basis, and the accounting standards require those 5 items that are laid out there to be reported on your government-wide financial statements, but they're not on the old traditional model financial statements. So basically, yeah, it increased about 76 million from the 44 million of fund balance to 120 million of net position. Page 16, you know, I use the term fund balance a lot in the presentation, and it's a significant metric. So this chart looks at the percentage of expenditures in fund balance for each of the major funds and then the non-major fund group. And basically the Government Finance Officers Association and many other national organizations have recommended a minimum of 3 to 5 months, which equates to about 30 to 45% as the recommended minimum levels of fund balance. And if you look at the chart, basically all your major funds are either at or above those recommended minimum levels. The mental health fund is a little bit shy of that, but yeah, grand total, your reserves are sufficient at this point. Page 17, 18, when we do our audit, we obtain an understanding of your internal controls. We test them, and the audit standards require us to report the results of that testing. And as I mentioned, we did make 2 material audit adjustments, and we're just required to communicate that to you. They appear to be just oversights. No red flags from our standpoint that there was any ongoing issues or problems with the controls that are in place. You got some good controls. It's just there are 2 items that we needed to adjust. The amounts are changed in your financial statements, and your financials are materially correct.
So they were both oversight issues from the standpoint
Yeah.
of something?
Yep.
Okay, that sounds,
It wasn't, I think the word is pervasive or anything. It just, yeah, we test a lot
sure, yeah.
and a lot of stuff. And it's just 2 things. So I do, gosh, I don't know, I must do about 40 audits a year. And to only have 2 material audit adjustments, I probably only have 2 audits that have 2 or less material audit adjustments each year. So that's really good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, yeah, it's simple. That's really good. All right. County gets a lot of federal grants, and we have to test the controls over the county handling of those dollars and making sure that they were spent on what they're supposed to be. And page 20 just lists out the 3 programs that we tested. The grand total, the county received almost 2.3 million of federal grants, and we tested just shy of $1 million of those awards as required. Page 21, we would include the required communications or findings, if we use that word, from the testing of those grants. But we tested the controls, we tested the compliance, and there's no items to report. The state, on page 23, requires us to do some testing as well when we do our audit in various categories here, and no issues to report there. So that's been pretty consistent over the last few years, if I remember right, that we haven't had to report anything as far as state compliance findings. So, page 24, I'll summarize it a little bit. How's Blackhawk County doing? I'd say really well. The county's in good shape. Financially, your fund balance levels of reserves are sufficient. I wouldn't say they're excessive. They're right on track. with COVID-19 and the impact to local businesses, it's better to be in the position you're in than some other local governments that have been really thin on their reserves. I think that should mean you should be able to weather the pandemic storm pretty well. So healthy fund balance levels. We only had that one required communication about 2 adjustments. We didn't have any single audit findings and no legal compliance or state compliance findings. So that's a lot of good results. Again, I want to thank all the staff for being so helpful, and I got time for questions, if any.
Appreciate you taking the time though to go through that and point all those things out, because it is good news that it's nice to hear, like I said too, when things go so well. Thank you.
It's easier to present good news than bad news.
Sure.
I've had to do that, but, all right.
Thank you, Doug.
All right.
Thank
Have a great holiday and
too.
great winter.
And you as well.
Congratulations to all of our staff for their excellent work as a result proven by this audit. So it's greatly appreciated. Next, we will move on to receive project updates from department heads or elected officials.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas, County Engineer.
Good morning.
I wanted to give you a brief update on our project work. PCI is continuing to work on the Cedar River Bridge replacement project. They are, just recently they did finish removing all of the concrete from the bridge, from the structure, as well as the deck and the piers, that would be including. And they are removing the causeway or the road that was underneath the bridge now at this point, removing the sand and hauling it out of there. This will probably take several weeks, and then at which point they will be continuing to remove the roadway on the east side as well as the west side of the structure. I also wanted to let you know that we did receive notice from the Asphalt Paving Association of Iowa that our Schrock Road project, our rehabilitation project, is an award-winning roadway, and we did receive a smoothness award for that project. This was presented a few weeks ago at the annual awards banquet for the Asphalt Paving Association of Iowa. And I just think that speaks well with the relationship that we have with our contractors here in Black Hawk County. In this case, Aspro was the contractor. And I just want to thank our employees for the hard work they do here. Can I answer any questions at this time? Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, for your work as well.
Thank you, Kathy, and congratulations. Any other department heads or elected officials wish to give an update?
Chris, Mike Hendrickson, Director of County Conservation. I just would like to let everyone know Brian Van Metren has been an employee with us for just about 20 years, right at that level anyway. He has announced his retirement, and his last day of work will be December the 30th. He started his career in the North Unit around the Black Hawk Park area, and he spent about 10 to 12 years at Hickory Hills helping Al with maintenance and situations down there. So we're going to miss him, but I thought it was appropriate that I let you guys know, and he's going into retirement very happily, and we'll start looking for a replacement after the first of the year. So,
Thanks, Mike.
yep. With that, I just wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and we'll probably see you after the new year.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike, and congratulations again to your staff for a wonderful Hickory Hills. It was really remarkable.
They've done a great job, and just very quickly, there was some word out there that we weren't open on Christmas Eve. We do have one more night, Christmas Eve, and we've gotten an amazing amount of phone calls and emails wanting to know if we were going to be open. So it sounds like we'll have another good night Christmas Eve. So it's done very well.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, any other department heads?
Well, good morning, Board. This is Yolando, Black Hawk County Veterans Affairs. Just want to give you a quick update as we move into the holidays. Just want to report that we've continued to have a tremendous outpouring of donations from the community to include some of the staff right here in the county and supporting veterans as we go into the holidays. a couple of things that we looked at this year is looking at we've had a tremendous amount of death in the veteran community since the pandemic. And so this year we focused on the widows of veterans in the standpoint. And so it was 29 widows out of the ones that are still surviving that we have made a courtesy bag to where we provided candy, a gift card, and a card to just remind them that they're not forgotten. And so we reached out to those widows and delivered those there. Another thing that we did was we looked at our isolated veterans who are living, by themselves at home. And we recognized 16 of those isolated veterans, and we're providing gift bags to those veterans to say, hey, again, we're here to support you, and if you need us, reach out and touch us, but here's something to take you into the holidays in that standpoint. We had over 70 or so veterans participate in our forums, Christmas dinner via gift cards, and we are doing actual gift baskets that people have donated that we're taking over to veterans themselves. So it's been a tremendous December for us. It's not over. We're still delivering certain things out there, but it's been a good, even during a pandemic, it's been a good season for us to give back to those who are really in need, and especially our underprivileged veterans that are just. Also want to thank Kathy and her department. They helped me get through getting the new vehicle. We do have the new vehicle in our possession, and we want to thank the Board of Supervisors for helping us approve that. That came under, you palm 25, and we were able to get that new vehicle for 16. Great deal to that car dealership that allowed us to do that, and so we're looking to take part in that in the beginning of the year. We're still going over the budget with the emphasis of making sure that it'll be a zero-sum gain in that standpoint. So we won't ask for anything out of the norm, and we'll make sure that we stay within our budget line. You'll probably see that in January, but that's what my mindset is in that standpoint, because it looks like we're probably still be in this COVID environment, through May or so. So we won't ask for a whole lot in that anticipation. And then sometime in January, I'll be back to brief on what our focus is going into 2021 in that standpoint. With some of the emphasis being on, we still will be restricted in what we can and cannot do as far as outreach, but once it's lifted, what we propose to do here at our new facility. Standing by to address any questions or concerns.
Yeah, Yolanda, I just want to say thanks a lot for all that you guys do out there. And especially I'm happy to bring up, you brought the budget up by staying and following instructions by the finance director. Kind of wish some of the other departments would follow that lead, but anyway, you guys do a fine job over there and appreciate everything you do.
Yes, and thank you to doing all of everything you've done to really spread a lot of holiday cheer this season. You made a big impact in the community. It's greatly appreciated. Any other department or elected officials wish to give an update? If not, we will move on to the minutes from the December 15th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions? None. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? The minutes are approved. There will be a hearing coming up after a little bit, but first we will do the consent agenda. This will be approved with a single resolution.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Anything in the consent agenda anybody wishes to discuss or has questions on? Hearing none, roll call please, Mr. Veeder.
Little,
Yes.
Drelka,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes, the resolution is approved. Next, we'll move on to other business. This is a motion that the Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors authorize the county auditor to deliver the following payment invoices of fiscal year 2016 through fiscal year 2017.
So moved.
Board minute
Second.
drafts from 6/7/113 to 6/30/14. It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, the motion carries. Next, item B, this is a motion to authorize the county auditor's office to issue cigarette permits on behalf of Cook County for the 2021 calendar year.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, the motion carries. Next is a motion that the personnel requisition for HR specialist recruitment and compensation, this full-time replacement, be approved as recommended by Amanda Fessemeyer,
So
interim
moved.
HR director.
Second.
It has moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries. Now it is 9:38 a.m. This is a hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2021 budget amendment.
Motion to receive and place on file proof of publication.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion to close the
Opposed?
hearing after all written comments are received, place on file.
Second.
Go ahead, James.
Excuse me. I've already gone over the budget amendment, but I did want to kind of button a few things up and kind of present it to you the way I intended to. There is 0 changes from the last time that we spoke, but just kind of refresh everybody's memory, or if anybody wanted to, or if anybody was on that didn't hear anything before. So we'll start it off. So we'll start it off with the auditor's office. There's an increase in salary and benefits for $34,868. We're going to take that out of board general supervision. That's just going to offset the salary and benefits, and the need there is for the retiree payouts. So there's going to be no change in the overall budget on that standpoint. In the elections department, the CTCL grant, those funds need to be accounted for in expenditures and revenues. That total is $267,500. Again, there's no change in the budget. Conservation increase in expenditures $75,000, increase in revenue by $103,450. There's an overall increase in revenue by $28,450, and again, this is just the additional revenue from the retainage closeout in the Cedar Valley Nature Trail. Jail commissary, this is to renovate the medical area inside the jail, increasing $100,000. That does not have an effect on the general fund. Again, that is those funds are in control of the sheriff. Health department increased expenditures $161,125, increased revenues $124,778. This is to account for the Kresge grant that they had received in prior fiscal year, as well as the CARES funds that they've received for $124,778. They've since received a few more grants, so we'll start accounting, or we'll see this again in their next budget amendment. So. E911 capital, this is the final contract for the radio bonds, $54,250. Again, this doesn't affect the general fund. This is just the bonded capital funds. Maintenance and capital projects. I had kind of listed out all of the capital projects that we have left going on. The auditor's plat room, the electronic directory, the directory kiosk, new signage, sidewalk, with the drainage, solar project, boiler project, as well as COVID-19 expenses. That totals $77,765. That is going to be a pure fund reduction. So, and then the other one is the bond amendment that we need to account for. The increase in capital expenditures $5,029,316. That's in order to pay the issuance costs as well as issue a check to solid waste. And then increase revenues from 4 million to 14 million 14,572,041. Again, that's just to account for the proceeds and the refunding for solid waste. That's just the increase because we had to increase our bond issuance. And that's what it looks like. That got sent to the paper for today's amendment. Small writing, but it's a lot of information.
Motion to
That's it.
approve.
Second.
Thanks, James.
Yes, you bet.
I think we have.
Thanks, James.
Yeah.
Proper place for discussion, public hearing.
I think you need to vote to close the
Close.
hearing before
Yeah.
act on the resolution.
Oh,
And were there any written comments? I don't think we talked about that. But you want to ask Chris if there were any written
Mr.
comments?
Peter, were there any written comments?
No, sir.
All right, there were no written comments. There has been a motion second to close the hearing. All those in favor say aye.
right.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Next is the resolution of the fiscal year 21 budget be amended by changing previous revenues and expenditures on file with the county auditor.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion or further questions? Hearing none, roll call please, Mr. Peter.
Trelka,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes, the resolution is approved. Next, we will move on to item E. This is a resolution of the county auditor be directed to increase and decrease appropriations to various operating budgets for fiscal year 21 offices as submitted and as shown upon the records in the office of the county finance director, with such changes being made in accordance with section 331.434.6 of the Code of Iowa.
So moved.
So
Second.
moved.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call please, Mr.
White,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Trelka,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yeah. The resolution is approved. Next is discussion, county preparedness, or updates for COVID-19. Is there anything anybody wishes to discuss or bring up today? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to any reports or information from the board. I guess I would like to just take this opportunity to wish all the staff of Black Hawk County, as well as our many residents. There are holidays that happen through the season, including ones that passed, like Diwali and Hanukkah, and also upcoming such as Christmas and Festivus and Kwanzaa, and of course the New Year. And so we just want everybody a tough year that you find some joy and celebration throughout this holiday season. And I do have it on good authority. The Santa Claus will be making one last visit to Black Hawk County. For any of the children that wish to see him tomorrow evening, he will be out in front of my house on Highland Square in Waterloo from 7 to 8. You can wave and shout your Christmas wishes to Santa. And so I just wish you all a Merry Christmas and thank you all for your wonderful dedication to this county.